Okay, I got to do the mic check and all that other stuff. Make sure people see me and hear me. Mic check and all that other stuff. Make sure. I know that part's done with. All right, we're gonna give it a minute or so. I'll be right back, and we're gonna get into it. But I'm giving time for people to join so we can figure all this out. Hey, Ludine, how's it going? Ton, my girl, how's it going? But yeah, just giving it a minute or two, and then we're gonna jump right into it. Okay, all right. Seeing people get into the scene. For everybody that's in the chat, let me know where you at. I'm back in Florida. I was in Georgia last week dealing with technical difficulties, but we're gonna get all this figured out this time because I'm back home, so I ain't gonna have those issues this time. But I'm trying to wait for 2 minutes after the hour so we can make sure who's in is in, and then let people join along as they come along. But as y'all know, we just doing a weekly wrap up, letting you know what was in the news, letting you know how it affects you. I mean, a lot of stuff that's in the news don't even affect you. The only thing it's doing is giving you a reason to bitch, moan, or complain, or celebrate, and it don't have any financial impact on your life. So here I'm trying to separate the wheat from the chaff, let you know what's important, what's not important, and then going about life. But we 2 minutes past the hour, so we about to get into it. First up, I got my notes. Y'all know how I roll. I got my notes. I ain't saying all this off the cuff. I've been writing this down all week, so this is not something that I just coming off the cuff with. Of course, I got my screens up in case somebody asks questions. Of course, like always, please ask the questions and put them in the comments. I come back to those at the end. But I promise this week is going to be short. I only got like 5 bullet points. Because I wanted to be less of me, more of you asking questions. So any questions you got about finance, we're going to hit the housing market a little bit harder this week. But any questions about finance, please hit that up. Ask in the comment section because we will be hitting that all the time. All right, here we go. First up, salt tax. As you've seen that the House, not the Senate, the House passed the big, beautiful bill that Donald Trump had pushing. The big, beautiful bill, first off, is tax cuts for Americans. Unfortunately, if you live in the bottom 40, 50% income level, it don't help you at all. Because you still fall under the standard deduction. The cuts itself really affect people that have more deductions that's over the standard deduction. That's the people that's in the higher level range. So when you see in the news that, oh, the tax cuts help the rich, they're not lying. I'm just gonna keep it real. I don't care if you Democrat or Republican, just keeping it real. I mean, if you under the standard deduction, I think it's 28,000 or whatever, you won't have enough write-offs to even factor into that tax cuts. Just telling it like it is. With that, but the salt cap, for people that don't know what the salt cap is, the salt cap, the first time Trump was in office, he had the salt cap at $10,000. The $10,000 salt cap was the only thing that was actually attacking the ultra wealthy. So the ultra wealthy could only write off $10,000 of local taxes. That means state taxes. That means property taxes and whatever against federal taxes. So it was a cap on how much you can write off, and then you just got to eat the rest. And that was the thing that was able to actually tax the rich. But now it went from 10,000 to 40,000, gives a little bit more leeway to the people in the upper echelons. Because if you just think about it, your local taxes, how much you pay in local taxes, does not, for the people that's in the lower quintile, it does not exceed, the lower quintile of income does not exceed the standard deduction. So you don't benefit from the SALT tax being elevated. It's the people that's in the ultra wealthy segment that pays more. So that's no lie, whatever. So I just want to let you know that's not even an argument that the normal everyday person should even worry about. Next thing I'm gonna talk about, I'm gonna keep it Trump, and then I'll get back to the main source, and that's real estate. All right. As you've seen, it came out Thursday, well, late Thursday, early Friday. Trump announced that he's going to put a 50% tariff on the EU. Like I said many weeks ago, this tariff thing is not going to end. Trump looks at this tariff thing as a negotiation tactic. Is he wrong? Is he right? It don't matter. But it looked like it puts more pressure on other companies faster than wait for Congress to figure it out. Right now, Congress, and I'm not going to say the United States is in a world of euphoria. It's a lot of stuff that need to be done. But Congress is on vacation. They've been on vacation since, I think, Thursday. But the executive orders can push the narrative faster. But as I say, it's not over. So when y'all saw the stock market rise for the past, couple weeks, and y'all was like, oh yeah, it's about to have a V-shaped recovery just like COVID, I said pump the brakes. Trump ain't done. He's going to keep using this as a negotiation tactic until his last day in office. And it's going to whipsaw the market. And as we've seen on Thursday and as we've seen on Friday, the market has been flipping and turning over and going back down. So that's things that you need to look at. But as far as EU and the 50% tariff, now you got to think about what you get from Europe. I mean, Nutella comes from, only reason I'm bringing up Nutella because that's something that's big in our household, but Nutella comes from the EU, it comes from Canada, it comes from Mexico. But that's what you got to think about. If it's a 50% tariff, that means the companies that produce it, they will eat some of it. The retailers that sell it, they will eat some of it, but some will be passed on to the customers. That's just reality. And me, I'm always saying I'm okay with you not buying anything that comes out of the United States. And I'm wearing the United States hat. Of course, I'm 100% United States. And it's not about supporting a president at all. I'm all about doing what's best for the country as a whole. So the tariffs itself is a negotiation tactic again. He put pressure on the EU. The people in the United States stopped importing their goods to make it a level playing field. I mean, we saw a little bit of that in China. We saw that a little bit in other places. And for everybody, just keep putting your questions in the comment section. I will get back to them. I promise I will hit every question in the comment section before it's done. But on top of the EU tariff, Donald Trump want to put a 25% tariff on Apple. Yes, the company Apple. Now, how likely would he be able to put a tariff on an individual company and not the cell phone service industry as a whole? That's something to be seen, but I think it's going to be cell phone industry as a whole. And while I'm saying that, I'm looking at the financial news right now, and then they place that same thing on Samsung also. So 25%. And then his motive behind that is saying that if you're going to sell to Americans, then you need to create jobs in America to pay for your phones. In Apple case, high-priced phones. In Samsung case, whatever damn phone they bring along. And I'm just going to be 100% honest. His end goal is not going to work. Trump's end goal is not going to work. And the only reason why I'm saying that, even at a 25% tariff on Apple phones, and I'm just going to stick to Apple. Samsung, that's a whole different story, but I'm just going to stick to Apple. A 25% tariff on Apple phones, let's just say it raised the price up 25%. it would still cost Apple way more than that to remanufacture stuff in the United States. So for people that don't know, it costs Apple less than $300 to manufacture the highest end phone that they have. So I think it's $1,200-$1,500. If you bring it back to the United States, remember us as employees. We demand pay increases every year. We demand 401ks every year. We demand healthcare, a percentage of our healthcare being paid. You got HSA. We got all these other avenues and aspects that's about it. That goes into the price of the product going higher. And it's been people out there and quote unquote experts that said if Apple produced phones in the United States, the price of the phone would increase to about $3,000 a phone. So it's simpler for Apple just to eat the tariff, eat some of it, pass it off to the customer, and then life goes on. So just want you to know, I do not believe that thing will pass at all. I do not believe Apple will manufacture their stuff or percentage of the stuff in the United States because it just don't make financial sense. I'd rather take the 25% haircut from Apple than take a 50, 60, 70% haircut if I repatriate my manufacturing back to the United States. Because, of course, Apple is not going to pay these people that work for them the amount that will afford them a $3,000 phone. So we're raising the cost on Americans who won't be able to pay for the $3,000 phone. So it makes sense just to eat some of the cost and pass a percentage basis off to them. I hope that makes sense to people out there. Again, for people, just ask your questions in the comment section. I will get back to them. I promise. And I'm just going through all the, like I said, I don't have many bullet points. And now let's get to the brass tacks of it. The brass tacks of it is the housing market. The housing market, the thumbnail said, we was talking about the housing market, and the housing market is what we will get into. April home sales dropped to the lowest since 2009. April home sales dropped since the lowest price point since 2009. For people that's old enough, 2009, that was the bottom pit of the great financial crisis. That's when everybody was just jumping out of houses and saying, damn this, I could go find somewhere else cheaper to rent. But in most places right now, it's cheaper to rent than it's to buy. So that's something that we have to look into. So now a lot of these people, again, I always say history don't repeat, but it rhymes. So that means what was happening in another time in history is similar aspects. For people that's been watching this channel for more than 5 minutes, y'all know I said stagflation, and I've been saying this for 2 years. Stagflation has been coming along for a while now. And the only thing I do is I looked at the last time in America that we had stagflation. That was the late 70s. This is before I was born. Late 70s, early 80s, going into the 80s. And what happened then? House prices was stagnant. Mortgage rates was at 18, 19%. That was for good credit. 18% was for good credit. So that's what was going on. And then I just looked and see, I know home sales still was producing over, 2.5 million home sales. How the hell was they doing it? This way. And I'm gonna say something that people are gonna be like, what the hell are you talking about? Right now, today, if you have bad credit, this is the best time to buy a house. Ask your questions in the comment section. I'm going to get back to it. This is the best time to buy a house if you have bad credit. Now, of course, I'm not talking about going through the conventional paths. I'm not saying, hey, I'm going to go to the bank and the bank going to give me the money. I have literally done 3 seller finance deals in the past 20 months No credit score was ever asked. Only thing it was setting up a deal, and then I had a property. In the 80s and the late 70s, people with bad credit scores was the one that was being able to accomplish the properties because they had the nuance to think around what was going on. When you start talking about seller finance, creative finance avenues that's out there, the credit score don't matter. Your reputation, your network is what matters. I'm actually in the process right now of doing another one. And the only thing that I told the seller, well, his agent, was, hey, I'm willing to do a seller finance deal for this. And I have contacts and credentials that's making it happen. Like the question there, Ton. But, and then the only thing the realtor told to me was, hey, I like this deal. And I said, hey, I got references and all that. And I do have references. And they agreed to the deal. Got under contract and so on and so forth. The inspection is, I just signed the paperwork for the agreement for the inspection. Inspection is on Tuesday. You can do that all the time. You don't need a credit score for that. And I know in America, everything is credit, credit, credit. But there's other avenues to buy properties than just the conventional way of, hey, I got to go to a bank. I go to a bank, and then they tell me if I'm good enough or not. Understand, there's people that actually own their houses outright or own 70% of the equity in their homes. If they're willing to do something different, then you can pay off the 30% they owe to the bank, and then you pay them in payments if the money that they need is not a big problem. And what I'm saying right now is the best time to do with bad credit to do deals is because I'm just looking at Florida right now. Florida right now, we're close to financial crisis times of houses on the market. We're close to these homes being on the market, but there's nobody to buy them. The banks have tightened up their screws so that they're not lending out money, especially in Florida. But this is not just allocated just to Florida. Look up Texas. Look up Louisiana. Look up Nevada. Look up Arizona. All these places are having the same situation. And I don't know all the other states, but I'm just letting you know these places. There's nobody that's going to buy these properties. If you remember last week, I said I'm in Georgia and I'm looking at properties. And for the most part, we're in the spring buying season, so I'm just trying to get what areas, what properties look good, and then I'm just going to wait to see if I can give them a disrespectful offer later. I truly believe that this home buying season will be trash, and it's going to be a lot of homes on the market that people just going to race to the bottom. I'll speak of Florida, I'll speak of Texas, I'll speak of Arizona. A lot of these people that was from California, New York, New Jersey, and things, what have you, they have to go back. They have to go back home, or unless they're just going to take a lower paying job in the states that they live. It sounded good during COVID. Hey, we work from home. I can have a job in New York. I can have a job in New Jersey. I can have a job in California, and I can make all this money, and I can move to lower cost states. We drove all the prices up in those states, but now a lot of these companies saying, hey, you got to bring your ass back to the office. But there's nobody to buy the property for them. Or from them, excuse me. So now what do? They got to keep dropping the price. I'm sitting here right now looking at a map. I would mess up my apparatus to show you, but I'm looking at a map, but you can do it yourself. Just pull up Zillow. Look at the state of Florida. Only thing you just have to put is for sale. It's 283,000 homes for sale. If you go to the More tab and then go to the info section or comment section and say motivated sellers, type in motivated sellers. When I looked at this 4 months ago, it was only 5,000 motivated sellers. I looked at it yesterday, it's 8,600 motivated sellers. It's only going to get worse. Because it's going to get worse because people did a lot of buying during COVID with the low interest rate, super high prices. But of course, they want a higher price to sell it than they paid for. But the interest rate is so high that the people that's buying can't afford it. Understand, people buy homes based on their monthly payments. So if you bought it at a low interest rate at a high price, and now you're trying to sell it at a high price, and the interest rate is 2, 3, 4 times what you bought it at, the monthly payments are way higher. So you got to find an alternative. So I just wanted to let y'all know that's what was going on. And for the trip to Georgia, and when I say I do this all day, every day, I went and looked at 40 homes. Of course, I wasn't in there with my hammer and chisel trying to see what's wrong with every home. But I looked at 43 homes, actually. Out of 43 homes, only 4 was worth even my time. But that's what happened. That's why I look every day. Only 4 homes. 4. And what I mean by in my criteria, I mean it was in the right neighborhood. It wasn't all the, it wasn't all the war zone activity going around. Because the truth of the matter is even though I don't manage the properties myself, I don't want to have my property managers going sitting there knocking on doors, or my contractors that's going to fix stuff in bad areas and then worried about their stuff getting stolen while they're doing it. So I got to factor in all those elements when I'm looking at rental properties. Not just, oh, well, we got the 1% rule, so it meet the 1% rule, everything's good. The 1% rule sounded good. The 1% rule is a framework, let's say. That's what it was. And the 1% rule came out during the financial crisis back in 07, 08, 09. That rule was because so many homes was going down in price. Somebody said, hey, if you can get a house for 1%, or you can get an investment property for 1% of what the list price is, so your rent is 1% of what the list price is or the sale price is, then it will be a good deal. But people just took that and ran with it for the next 50, 60 years, not understanding that the economic turn or change that went along with it. The prices are going up. It's not going down. Now, I always say the 1% rule is the framework, but let's just keep the number simple. If somebody is listing a house that they're receiving $1,000 a month for, and they list it for $100,000, I already know it's in a war zone. I already know it's in a bad neighborhood. I know that it's going to be problems all day. What I'm trying to do is I'm trying to find homes, and we're going to keep it to small numbers. I'm trying to find homes that's $150,000, $175,000 that's getting $1,000 in rent. But I'm trying to work that price down. I'm trying to maneuver to see that if that $1,000 a month in rent is below market for the area. So I can do a combination of lowering the price, the sale price, and being able within the next 6 to 12 months to up the rent price to get close to the 1% rule as possible. But for people that's going out there looking on all these MLS sites and these third-party sites talking about, hey, I'm on 1% rule only, y'all gonna mess around and get shot. I hope you got a flak vest and a pistol on you. All right, with all that being said, now I'm gonna go to the comment section. Like I said, I was gonna keep it short. I don't know how long we've been going so far. We've been going for a minute, but 23 minutes. All right, now I'm gonna go to the comment section. Like I said, any questions in the comments, let me know. I'm just gonna go from top to bottom. Would you rather be, and I'm just going, I don't know if they troll it or not, I'm just gonna ask the question. Would you rather always feel understood or always feel appreciated? I don't care about being appreciated, and I'm just being honest. I don't care about being appreciated. I already know people don't appreciate people till they're gone. People appreciate people, and people don't appreciate people till they're gone, or they take advantage of them while they're living. Ton, I see her in the comment section. Ton is one of the people that I appreciate, and we always said, I appreciate what she do. She appreciate what I do, and that's fulfilling. But the thing is, I always hope I'm understood, so people could devoid themselves from the situation that they're in. I know people look at it like, oh, this guy's on YouTube. He has money now. He don't understand where he came from. No, I understand where you come from. I hope that my message will say, hey, damn this life, I'm going to do something different. Because that's what I had to do. I done seen both sides. I done seen the bad sides of Detroit, and I seen the good sides of everywhere else. So I'd rather be understood than appreciated at this point in my life. Because I know when I die, it'll be one person that appreciates me. I don't know who it is, but it'll be one person that appreciates you. But I wish people will understand me more so they could be better for themselves. And now I don't need the gratitudes and platitudes, the pats on the back, because I'm still gonna listen to the information that I say, no matter if anybody listens to it at all. Next question. So it costs more for Americans to make everything. Yes, it costs more for Americans to make everything. And understand, you got to understand this anecdote here. So in India, China, Vietnam, let's just use those. The 401k, the pension plan, the raises every year, all that stuff, that don't apply over there. So if a company is raising your pay, of course, we know in America, healthcare is going higher. So healthcare is going higher, so that's more cost to the company. If it's more cost to the company, where do they get the revenue to pay for that cost? They're not reaching their pockets. They gotta raise the cost of everything. That's how it all works. So yes, everything costs more in America. That's why American companies ship it off to China. So American right now, and I'm just talking for information I know, American right now that's making $30,000 in the U.S., let's just say they work in an office. That one employee, $30 an hour, can pay for 7 employees in India. So what if they only need 2 employees for India to replace what that employee is doing? All that money goes to the bottom line. So yes, in America, hiring American employees to manufacture things costs way more. Way more. And then that's just how you gotta look at it. I know we look at it from the employee side. It's like, oh, well, yeah, we doing the hard work. Yeah, but from the business side is we want the lowest input cost, and then we want to sell it back to Americans, back to the EU, back to Britain, back to everybody else, and get the biggest profit. That's what happens when you're a publicly traded company. That's just the reality of it. Let's see what else we got. Jay, is it a good time to buy a car also? Hell no. It ain't never a good time to buy a car. It's never a good time to buy a car unless you're buying a used car. And well, off the parking lot, hell no. But only time it is to buy a used car if you just buying a beater, something to get you from A to B. If you trying to if you have a seller that's owned the car outright and then they just say, oh, whatever. Or if you want to take over a payment of a previous loan from, subject to. You can do that with car loans also. But that's the only time. But going to a car lot, buying a car, hell no. Tariffs kicked in, prices are going higher. Even if the prices didn't go higher on the cars, the manufacturers and the car companies are going to act like it went higher just to say, oh, well, it's tariffs. You got to pay another $3,000, $4,000. They're going to do that. Let's not lie to ourselves. They're going to do that. We just said 2 weeks ago that they came with a deal with China to bring the tariff number back down. Walmart said, oh, well, the price is still going up. A lot of big box retailers said the price is going up. They're not eating the prices. You think the auto manufacturers are going to change this tune? Hell no. They ain't changing their tune at all. So what else we got? So the cost of it, yep. What about cars? All right, seller financing. Seller financing is, good question. So how seller financing works just in a, small boxes. Let's say I own something outright. And then somebody say, hey, I want to buy it, but I don't want to go to the bank and pay all the financing fees, blah, blah, blah. And then we come up to a price. So let's say we come up to a price. Let's just use a car, but it's the same with housing. All right, you can buy my house, or you can buy my house, or you can buy my car for $30,000. You give me a down payment. We draw up a contract similar to what the bank draws up for you if you was buying it to say, hey, you owe me XYZ payments, and then if you don't make the payments, I can repossess or I can foreclose on the property or the car. And then the only thing that happens is the seller becomes a bank instead of the bank being the bank. And then so you agree to that, sign it, get the notaries and the people there. I mean, for me in housing, it'll be the title company or whatever. You'll get all that documentation signed, and then they will pay the down payment, and then they will pay you a monthly payment like their bank. Y'all decide between yourselves what the interest rate is. You can do that on almost anything, but that's what seller financing is. Is it best for people to make themselves a business? That's a good question. Making themselves a business is one thing, but operating as a business is another thing. Because what I see people do, they be like, oh, I got an LLC, and then they just go do all this stuff and say, I'm gonna write it off as a business. No, that's not how it works. So how it works is when you set up yourself as a business, you have to live through the business. Like everything that you do, well, not everything that you do, but everything you want to write off have to be business purpose wise. It can't just be, hey, I got an LLC sitting over here. Now I'm about to go hit the club every weekend, and then I'm gonna say, hey, that was business expense. Hopefully you got, a business card or whatever, and then you have documentation that you doing business, grabbing clients or whatever during that time. But you have to live through the business. I see that mistake all the time. People get an LLC and then they just have it sitting to the side and they're not living through the business, but they think they're gonna write it off. And it just sets you up for an audit because your record keeping is the biggest important thing that goes along the way. So that's something that we need to understand there. For everybody, please make sure you hit that like button and stuff like that. I'm just, doing housekeeping stuff. Okay, I see you. Jonathan, I have one son studying to be an electrician. Perfect. I love that. I know you're not fond of realtors, sure not, but I steer one of my younger sons down the path early. By the time they're 25 or older, they would have the experience to gain some fraction in that field. All right. I have no problem. Well, I do have a problem with me using a realtor. But if your son, Jonathan, decides to become a realtor and under all the aspects of it, most realtors, this is what they do. They get their real estate license and then they just want to focus on the people that's going to buy one or two houses from them in their lifetime. What I mean is owner occupants. They don't even understand the investment side of it. Investors are going to buy 5, 6, 7, 8 properties from that person in their lifetime. So if they understand all the nuances of real estate, literally, when I talk to real estate agents about seller financing, I always hear the groan. I'd be like, hey, is the seller thinking about seller financing? They'd be like, oh. I always got to preempt them. And I say, listen, my down payment will be enough to cover your realtor fees. And then they'd be like, oh, okay, now that's something we can talk about. But they don't even understand the nuances of creative finances, subject to, and all these other different ways that properties can be acquired. It's just, hey, do you got your finances through to the bank, give you a pre-approval letter? That's all they know. I say if your son is going to go through it, learn all the nuances of real estate because it puts them in a better place. Especially being a real estate agent, you see the best deals first. He can even acquire some properties on the side while he's doing his thing. So I'm all for, if a realtor knows what they're doing, I'm all for them. But the sad part is 85, 90% of realtors ain't got a damn clue besides owner occupancy real estate, what the hell they doing. And that's why I don't like real estate agents. But I like the son going into the field, but I hope he broadens his horizons and learn all parts of the field and not just stick to one. Jay, what are your thoughts on leasing a car? Hell no. I'm just gonna leave it at that. Don't lease a car. That's a robbery, a scam by the automakers. I'm not for that at all. Hey Jack, how's it going? Do you need to have financing to be a seller finance? No. Literally, you don't need seller financing. Let me read the whole question. Do you need to have financing to be a I'm guessing, excuse me. It's saying, do you need financing to seller finance? Or can you just grab a loan from a bank? You don't need a loan from a bank at all. If you're seller financing, you are the bank. I'm looking at. Hold on, wait. I'm gonna see if I can pull it up right quick because I just went under contract. See now, y'all got me on the spot here. Give me 1 second. I'm sorry. I'm trying to pull up the contract. And I'm sorry, people. I'm doing this real time, so give me a second. Give me all the documents right here. And this is one that I just went under. All right, here go the seller financing terms, just right here. I'm not gonna get all into the deets, but all right. So I'm just trying to get to the calendar or calculator or whatever they have here to describe this damn thing. All right, so look. So right here on the contract that I'm looking at, and then we can get offline. If you reach out to me, I can share it with you. But so it's literally the seller themselves are the bank. So with me paying the down payment, of course, I'm always going through a title company. I'm not just doing this, hey, handshake deal, and then they try to screw me over on the back end. No, I'm going through the title company. We're getting the title of the property transferred in my name. I'm paying the down payment. You know, whatever y'all agree to. It's literally, personally, whatever y'all agree to the down payment, whatever the interest rate is, however long the terms is. You know, maybe it may be a balloon payment 5, 6, 7, 9, 10 years from now, which is all negotiable between you and the agent or you and the seller. Y'all create all the terms. The title company just makes sure the paperwork is legal, and then you just, instead of making a payment to a Bank of America, to a USA, to a Navy Federal, only thing you're doing is sending the payments to the seller. I just sent payments to the seller via Cash App, via Zelle, via Care Pigeon, via check in the mail, cash it when you get it. It's literally like that. And I'm looking at it right now, and I'm looking at the terms, and it's set up, and the terms and stuff is set up just like a bank would set it up. But it's just like, hey, this is seller financing, but instead of the payments going to the bank, instead of paying all those financing fees and underwriting to the bank, I X all that out, and then I just make the payment to the seller. But the property itself is in my name. That's why I'm going to a title company. There ain't no handshake deals. Damn that. I'm going through a title company. It's going to be done just like you was done with the bank. But then, so now let's just say a year from now, I decide and I can't pay it. He has the opportunity, he or she has the opportunity to foreclose on me just like a bank would. So they still get to keep all the money that I paid them, and then they get the property back, and then they can rinse and repeat and do it again, just like a bank does. I'm literally looking at the contract right now. I'm not going to give y'all all the details because I'm like, how the hell you pull this off? But that's what it is. It's simply just like that. Is getting a business loan, is getting a business loan a good idea? It depends. It depends. Getting a business loan is good if you know what you're doing. So I would have further questions along with that. What would you get a business loan for? I mean, I see a lot of different videos and aspects out there of people talking about how you can get all this business credit. But understand, you got to pay that back. For the most part, and I know they make it sound sexy on social media that, hey, you can get this business credit and then you can use it. Usually when you get business credit, you got to be a personal guarantor. So even if you think that you about to go do something fancy, get $100,000 of business credit, most people are going to ask for a personal guarantor. And then if you're the personal guarantor, if the business don't pay for it, guess what's going to happen? And I've said this many a times. I understand, I appreciate the people that's talking about business credit, talking about fixing credit and all that. But the true reality is they're just treating the symptom. they're not treating the problem. Because it's a reason why people are trying to run the business credit is because they already messed up their personal credit. So if you don't handle the real problem, and the real problem is, hey, you need to stop spending money and pay off the obligations that you agreed to, then the only thing, when you get the business credit, you're just going to fuck that off also. But I appreciate people saying it and people doing it. And I've literally talked to people that do the social media about business credit. And I asked them, I said the same thing that I just said to y'all. I'm like, you're just treating the symptom. You're not fixing the problem. And they said, oh, that's not my problem. If they mess it up, then that's on them. But I just gave them avenue to the capital. That let you know right there all you need to know. Let's see what else we got out there. But again, with business credit, if you're not taking out debt to make more money, then no, I'm not a fan of it. I'm just being honest. I do not believe in taking out debt unless it's to make more money. I don't give a damn what it's for. If it ain't to make more money, I'm not a fan of it. What benefits are there for the seller to do seller financing? Seller property. That's really it, to sell the property. Maybe the property itself don't meet the requirements for FHA, VA, conventional loan. Maybe they have, some nuances of the house that needs a little repair going on. And if it don't meet those parameters of the FHA, VHA, or conventional, they can't sell it. They can't get conventional financing. Another reason why people would benefit from seller financing is because they don't have to take all of the tax obligation to go along with it. So if I pay, let's say you own a house outright, and I pay you $300,000 for a house that you was used as a rental property, you owe taxes on about $250,000 of it, depending on how long that they had the property, the appreciation, and all that stuff. You owe that money back to the IRS. But let's say I say, hey, let's do a seller finance. I give you $40,000 down, and then I just make payments to you. You can find a way over time to write those payments off and not give nothing to the IRS. So that's another one out there. That's one of the reasons why seller finance work, or two of the reasons why seller finance work. Ladine, good question. Yes, sir, I love it. And what do you think about buying land for future things now? I'm going to say I love the idea of buying land, but again, always just like the question before about business loans. If you're getting a loan to buy land, I think it's a bad idea, because like I said, I only believe in getting loans to make more money. If you just buy land and you don't have a plan for it, if you're not going to section it off and then maybe let's just use for shits and giggles, a long stretch of highway, and they got like four acres of land. If you're not trying to create an easement and then put a billboard or something up there so you can rent out the billboard to the building owners, then no. I'm not a fan of just sitting there holding money in land and hoping that it will go higher. It has to generate cash flow. So you got to have another plan instead of saying, I'm going to buy land. Because if you just buy land and do nothing, you still going to have to pay property taxes every year. It's just you paying out money. I need a way that you're going to make money on top of that. Now, that's one of the ways. If you get something by highway, rent it off. Okay, I'll answer that question in a minute. But yeah, so that's the nuance of it, is just if you're getting a loan for a house. Now, if you're paying cash for it or whatever, and you could maybe let's say you get a land close to the city, and then you do something like, hey, I'll get dealing with local municipalities saying, hey, this is just a place where food trucks are set up, and you could and then you can clear out a piece of the land, and then you can have food trucks set up, and then the food trucks pay you, rent every weekend to cover your tax obligation to put some money in your pocket. I'm all for it. But you got to have a way, even with that land sitting there, to make some money off of it. Not just having land, just say, oh, yeah, I own this land. Where we at? Where we at? Where we at? Jay, is your house paid off? I don't know why that's important where my house paid off, but yes. Yes. I pay cash for my house. I did it with Bank of America stock for the people that don't know. And that's what I did. I just bought, being a contrarian, I just bought a lot of Bank of America stock, sold the Bank of America stock, and then when it went up, I just paid it off. What do you think about, okay, I think I've added all those. Devon, what is your thoughts on doing an assumption loan in the market right now? I'm all for doing assumption loans. I am all for doing assumption loans right now in the market. And this is why. Right now, of course, because of, you know, the Moody's downgrade on the U.S. government debt, home prices, if you got A1 credit, the interest rates is like 7%, 7.2%. Might change by Tuesday, but that's what it is. I'm all for doing assumption loans because if you have enough of that gap, and especially because it's so many houses on the market, that gap is going to come down lower. But if you have if you have enough money to clear the gap of what they want to sell the price and how much equity they have in the price, or you can just do a separate deal, you can still acquire homes at 2, 3, 4% interest rate. Still today. But again, you have to be able to qualify with the bank that they have. I mean, I've been set up for assumption loans, just the property just didn't work out. But yeah, assumption loans is a way to go also. Assumption loans, and I'm a big advocate of assumption loans right now. So you can acquire property at a way cheaper rate. Ton asks, what are assumption loans? Assumption loans is this assuming. And the crazy thing is, people don't know, a lot of VA and FHA loans are assumable. So let's say you got, and I'm just giving you an example, let's just say in 2021, let's use 2021, and people was getting that low interest rate, getting 2, 3, 4% interest on a home. They still have that because it was 30-year fixed debt. And then now they probably trying to sell their home, but of course they want a higher price than the higher price that they paid then. And then let's just say they got 100,000 equity. I mean, let's say they got $50,000 equity in their home. Let's keep it simple. You could pay the $50,000 in equity that they have in their home. Well, first you got to ask them, is they loan assumable? You can assume the same loan that they have, and then you just take over their payments. Instead, the same loan that they had in 2021 at 3%, 4%, they will just change and put your name on the loan. And then you will just finish making those payments, but you paid them the difference between the equity that they have in their home and the sale price. And you can assume homes like that also. But it's called an assumption loan for people. Google it. It's out there. It's relevant. And I actually had a deal on a assumable loan for a fourplex about a month ago. It fell apart, not because of the assumption. The bank was all for it. They was ready for it. But then I just found out the amount that the seller owed versus what she wanted versus the rehab cost was egregious to the area and how much I would have to raise the rent on the tenants to make it happen. And even though it was a great market to raise rent on tenants because the rental market, the supply is low, I wasn't going to do that to tenants. I'm not raising $300-400 a month on tenants. I don't give a damn who it is. I just can't do it. So I wasn't going through the exercise to do it. But yeah, assumptions are very prevalent, and I've been talking about assumptions for the past like year and a half. The news media just started talking about it like a couple months ago. But yeah, assumptions is a way to do it. And again, remember, if the news media start talking about it, you're getting too late. Usually on here, when I say stuff, I'm usually way ahead of what the news media say. I know I sound crazy because you're not hearing it nowhere else. But once you start hearing it in the news media, you know the market is being saturated. I've heard it only twos and fews for assumption loans in the news media. But if you're looking for a house and then you have the down payment and you just think the interest rates are just too high, use an assumption loan. Find somebody that's selling a property that has an assumable loan. But you have to do the work. You have to put in the time to find it. But that will benefit you way better than sitting there paying an inflated price at 7-8% interest. I hope I answered your question there, Ton, on that one. if there's not any more questions out there, we 50 minutes in. I hope y'all have a good one. Thanks for joining the process. We do this again. We do this every weekend. Of course, different topics, and we're just talking about what's going on in the news and trying to answer your questions to make you better understand what's going to affect your financial future. Not what the news saying, what everybody crying about. All that shit don't matter. Only thing that matters is what affects your financial future, and I hope I helped you do that today. With all that being said, you have a good one.